One more transfer portal defection. No, I'm not talking about Walker Howard. We've known about that one for a little bit. Kardell Thomas of LSU has decided to enter his name into the transfer portal. He will enter as a grad transfer. Of course, was a elite prospect coming out of high school right here in Baton Rouge. 247 Sports had him as a 5-star recruit. And he comes in 2019. He got hurt and missed a lot of camp, and it just couldn't really catch up. So redshirted in 2019. In the COVID year, only played 4 snaps the entire year. Those were against South Carolina in a game that LSU won. But he came back for his sophomore year in 2021, played in 6 games, got a couple of starts in 2021, including the Texas A&M game that LSU won. But this past year, as a junior, saw 78 total snaps on the year. He played 36 against Southern and 22 against Purdue. So if you look at that, that's 58 of his 78 snaps in a mop-up game against Southern and a absolute annihilation of Purdue. Just never quite made his way into the rotation. You saw the remarkable kind of film of him in camps in these one-on-one drills with no pads on, where he's like throwing kids around. Just a big, strong 18-year-old young man at that point, but never became the 5-star impact guy at LSU, although he kept coming back and he kept working. And there were times where I think there may have been an issue with some weight. He would cut the weight and he would show back up and was available. And again, started an amazing win for LSU against Texas A&M in the last game of 2021. But he's going to take he will graduate from LSU, so he'll be able to go anywhere that he wants and be eligible to play immediately. So we'll see what's next for Kardell Thomas, a Baton Rouge kid that you had to keep in state and did. And now we look back 4 years later, and he'll be heading somewhere else. The LSU offensive line has lost some pieces in the transfer portal, but really the only starting loss was Anthony Bradford when he declared for the NFL draft. You're still going to return everyone else off that offensive front. You know that Will Campbell and Emory Jones are your bookends at tackle, and you feel good about what you had at center with Charles Turner and working some other guys in there. Dellinger can move in and play center or at either guard spot, and I thought it was a pretty good year for Miles Frazier at guard as well. And then you bring in a class that you feel really, really good at. It's part of the trajectory when you have a really young offensive line, which LSU did this year, and they're all going to come back. The guys that are behind them, and specifically the guys that are older than them and are behind them, a la Kardell Thomas or any of the guys that we've seen, Doomerville, that have transferred out, that's just part of it. And again, I don't think the reaction to a reserve guard is going to be the same as a reaction to a quarterback. But the fact of the matter is that they were both 5-star guys in Walker Howard and Kardell Thomas, who hadn't really done very much at LSU. But the visceral reaction is going to come, and probably rightly so, from the freshman quarterback as opposed to the senior reserve guard. I get it. But I still think as you look at this and evaluate LSU's offensive line as a whole, they're in a really good spot. And it's been a talking point that I've been over time and time again with the tough spot that Brad Davis was in when he took this job as the offensive line coach a month before the season started in 2021. Now, you look back a year and a half later, and things are very stable. And I use that word on purpose because it would appear if you lose 5 guys from the transfer portal off one position, things are not all that stable. But the fact of the matter is you've got the nucleus of that front, and you're never going to go through an entire season without bumps and bruises on the offensive line. It's just the way it goes. Guys that are that big, that are in that many collisions at every play and have their knees exposed the way they do, you're going to have guys get banged up throughout the course of a season. Hands, wrists, fingers, knees, ankles. That stuff's going to happen, and you've got to have depth to do it. But you're just not going to keep guys around all that often that aren't near the starting lineup and are aging out. So you've got to backfill with high school kids that are going to be ready to play sooner rather than later. And by all accounts, that's what LSU's done in this class. Again, for the 975th time, It was unheard of to toss a freshman on the offensive line 15, 20 years ago. No way. Now, you're usually at one of these high-level programs going to have one. Not every time. Not always. Not every program. Not every year. But you're going to have a guy come in that's already 6'5", 312 pounds, and he may not have to be Will Campbell and start at tackle. But if you need him to come in and slot in at guard for the second half of a game, that may be a possibility. And that was looked upon as just unthinkable at one time. It's just not anymore. Which is why a bunch of freshmen won jobs this year on the offensive line for LSU, and why they're probably going to count on some freshmen as depth next year, when in reality you turn a veteran offensive line that played just about all the snaps for you. So Kardell Thomas will be moving on. Transfer portal locked up. Coming up one more day. So we'll see. Hey, thanks so much for watching the Hunt Palmer Show on YouTube. If you don't mind, throw us a like right below and hit the subscribe button. We'll see you next time.